and West India. We're running 12 Chili's at the moment, and Chili's, as you know, is a global chain with 1,600 outlets across the globe in 33 countries. So we are the developer for South and West India markets.
Thanks, Ashish. Sahil, to you.
Hi friends, I am Sagar from Wow Momo. Last year when I was here for Franchise India, we were at 70 stores. Now we're at 128 stores across 8 cities, entering Bombay and Bhubaneswar next year. So that's a brief pitch or introduction, I would say. I think we've really played with momos, and that's been our key to success. And I want to thank all you guys for eating our products, liking us, and appreciating us. Thank you so much.
So I think we have like a fantastic, very dynamic panel. Everything from Tex-Mex to pizzas to KFCs. Obviously, Mexico is slightly heavily indexed here today. For whatever reason, obviously, clearly that Mexico cuisine is doing well. Unnat, over to you in terms of just a brief introduction.
Good afternoon. My name is Unnat Verma. I take care of your pizza cravings around the country. So I represent Yum Brands here. I'm the managing director for Pizza Hut in India subcontinent. All put together between the area countries, we have about 450 stores, and growing aggressively from here on. That's me.
Sahil, from your perspective.
Yep. So I'm Sahil Jain. I'm co-founder at Dine Out. We are the largest table reservation platform in the country today. We started way back in 2012, and today we're seating almost 500,000 diners on a monthly basis across about 2,500 restaurants in 8 cities. That's how we've grown. We also own another brand called InResto, which is our B2B product, which helps restaurants recognize diners who are walking into their restaurants, which is the most important part of a restaurant business, I believe, today, capturing that data which goes missing, and we help them do that.
Okay, Varun, to you.
Hi, I'm Varun. I come from...
Just keep...
Hello. Yeah, hi, I'm Varun. I represent the CG Corp global family, which is actually into 15 different verticals, but today I'll be speaking more about the YY brand that we have, which is now in 35 countries. And we've just started a new QSR called YY City. So I'll be talking about the growth story of this and how we're going to take this whole brand to the next level.
And Sam? Just put that.
Hi, my name is Sam Chopra. I'm the chairman of Cybus Corp. We have two verticals, real estate and food and beverage, which are obviously linked because as McDonald says that they're not in the food business, they're in the real estate business. I started with real estate, of course, and I moved to food. Having said that, my family's been in the food business. And the real estate brand that we run is Remax, which is a joint venture with a subsidiary of Franchise India. We specialize in retail leasing over there. So if anybody has F&B needs, we'd love to help you. And on the other side, I also run the third largest burger chain in the world called Carl's Jr. We just celebrated our second year of entry into India. And we're all of 4 restaurants, 5th one coming up next month. And thank you very much for your ongoing patronage. Thanks.
Great stuff, guys. So hopefully you've got a good sense of the strength of the panel. A lot of diversity in terms of the types of foods, types of restaurants, number of restaurants. So we'll get into the discussion, starting talking about retail partnerships and how do we scale up, looking at the digital play, the fintech play, looking at public partnerships with the likes of IRCTC, looking at sales and marketing tie-ups with people like Groupon or nearby, looking at aggregators, which are the the Dine Outs, the Zomatos of the world, and then looking at things like shop in shops, as well as corporate tie-ups. So in no particular order, and Ashish, I'll start with you. Just talk a bit about how is it that you guys are looking to scale up using any of these verticals. Where do you see the role for that? Do you see a role for them? And how do you see that helping you ramp up the business?
Sure. So I think, firstly, where we are today, and Zorawa said that in the beginning of the things, is we are looking at tapping all the millennials. And you have to market to them where they are spending their time, right? So digital, for example, is one big push where every brand has to now look at ways of tapping the crowd who's on the digital medium. So you have to do that. But I think for us, being a casual dine, slightly different from some of the other panelists here, more widespread. So we have only 12 outlets, and for us, the marketing is very local. So we don't spend, for example, big bucks on print or radio campaigns, but we would like to do more local stuff. So the digital side aside, there's a lot which can happen on the retail side, on the corporate tie-up side. So, we have our restaurant teams, which are equipped, and we have a whole process laid down for that. We started off doing a simple geographic map of our areas and say which are the corporates in vicinity. And now Google allows you to do that, right? You can see which buildings are there, which corporates are there. So we make a list of that. We start off by just cold calling them and approaching them.
But do you supply food into the corporates, or do you look at asking the corporates to come to you through discounts and various other means?
So it's a combination of both. We've got a specific offering which is unique only to our markets across the globe for Chili's, which is the lunchbox. And we got that approval based only for our markets where, for example, our outlet in Whitefield is present very close to where all the IT offices are. And, they can't really step out every day. So we said we'll get Chili's to you if you want it. And that was
fantastic. And does that work? I mean, is that a space you see growing a lot?
Absolutely. So I think it does two things. One, it satisfies the customer who can't really step out and come to us. And at a reasonable price point. So, B, it builds that loyalty with the brand in that corporate house. So, they have a team meeting, they have a town hall meeting where they have like almost 300 of their employees, and we would cater to that. So we would have our lunch boxes there, and everybody's liked the food, and they say, oh, I didn't even know that the Chili's here next door to me, and so they want to come to us.
So that's a very good point. I think today corporates provide a lot of. I almost feel like corporates take away the lunch from all of these players, and one of the ways to access them is to say, can we take the lunch to the corporates? Anything else to add on that, Ashish?
No, I think so. Besides the corporate, there's retails, which I wanted to also touch upon, where we do a lot of cross promotion with the brand which are in our vicinity. And our price points are, meal for two is about 1,500 to 1,800 bucks. So we would do with the Shopper Stop or with the Hypercity, where if the bill value is above 2,000, we can do a cross promotion where they give us a voucher and we give them a voucher of ours. So it just helps drive, customers in the malls to come to us rather than go to other restaurants which are also in the same mall, right? So if you have a voucher, tendency will be to go and redeem that instead of just going to another restaurant.
And what sort of value with these vouchers would be at?
So typically we would keep it at a 500 rupee off on a bill of 2,000, for example. So that's almost a 25% kind of a discount, which is reasonable. But the beauty is that customers don't end up spending 2,000. If they are a family of 4 or 5, they'll come and have a meal of at least 3,000 or 4,000 bucks, and we'll get that 5,500 rupees offer.
So phenomenal. So from their point of view, it's more about looking at corporate tie-ups, also looking at branding, co-marketing with retailers. Sagar, getting to you, you guys have grown exponentially over the last few years. Congratulations on that. Just some thoughts around which are the sort of, if you were to look at these 5-6 touch points, what are the two that would really trigger and that you really use actively to drive that?
I think Shop and Shop has been a blessing for us. 8 years back, my friend Vinod and me started Wow Momo with an investment of only rupees 30,000. Now, how can you start a venture with 30,000? We did a Shop and Shop format. We didn't have to bother about the flooring, about the ceiling. We opened our first store, a small 6x6 kiosk inside Spencer's in Calcutta. Bootstrap, loud back profits, saved money, opened a second store, saved money from 2 stores, opened 4. I think our first 11 outlets were all Shop and Shops. So I think we really leveraged that aspect. Being startups, when you're a startup, 1 rupee saved is like 5 rupees earned. I think we had that in our, we had that embedded in our pulse, and we began a career with Shop and Shop, and before we moved on to malls and high streets, etc. So for us, Shop and Shop was a major blessing, I would say, and I think it's a wonderful way to start a business. As I sit here today, we are in talks with Big Bazaar to open 100 odd stores across the country. Imagine, if every store does 3 lakhs of revenue, it's like close to 30 crores of revenue per annum. I mean, that's like big numbers. So I think there's a huge advantage, when you club synergies together. I think in a hypermarket like a Hypercity, Big Bazaar, Spencer's, etc., people come to shop, they want a quick bite, they want to pack, take away. So I think Shop and Shop has really worked. Secondly, if I have to move on, I think in the QSR segment, we all talk about the same store sales growth, SSG. Now, we at Wow Momo also look at same-store EBITDA growth, because it's very, very important to be profitable. I don't want to do a buy one, get one every day and, not be profitable but have a higher SSG. So for us, we've really, we've been profitable from day one. I mean, our first 43 stores were all invested by our customers. We did not take any equity funding, any debt. We went for our equity after 43 stores. So we know what profitability is, So I personally believe that, when you have these SSG aspects in mind, your tie-up with a Swiggy, with a Zomato, with a Food Panda, your Paytms of the world, I think they really...
Dine out, don't forget Dine out.
Yeah, Dine out for sure. They play a major role in, enhancing your same-store sales growth. Because today, for me, Swiggy is a takeaway customer, okay? Today, as I sit and talk here, we are in the top 10 for Swiggy nationally. I mean, we do almost 21,000 orders for them per month. So that's like big number. Same thing with Zomato. Now you have Uber Eats coming in. So I think these verticals end up playing a huge, a huge segment in enhancing your same-store sales growth. You are in a geography where you can just cater to people coming to you, but then you also have a 4-kilometer radius around you, which a Swiggy or a Zomato helps you. We tried doing it with our own fleet, but then that was more costly. So I don't mind paying Swiggy a 15 or a 16%, but be up there and the consumer wants convenience. So अगर उसको वाव मोमो खाना है घर पे, order through Swiggy, it's right up there. Everything is about apps these days, Same thing with a Paytm or a free charge, etc. I mean, these guys, I remember when demonetization happened, we had tied up with them before that, so we had a much better rate, much better cutoff time, and I mean, your cashbacks that they give you, we don't give anything out of that, it's their way of promoting you. But ultimately what happens is, jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. When your brand is visible in a Paytm and your brand is visible in a Swiggy, Zomato, Food Panda, you're visible in different aspects, different omni-channels. And it's all about visibility. If your product is good, if your service is good, no one can stop you from being a brand. It's all about visibility. So you need to take that decision and know where to be, where not to be. Another thing I think which really works well for us is, I mean, earlier there was Groupon, which has become nearby now. I think nowadays these guys like Little I, Groupon, they've started these, flash sales. So they have this sale for 1 hour where you can get to, buy a coupon for $25 where you get, say, a chicken and cheese momo for $25 for the next 1 month valid, but it's a blast sale for an hour. So we did that last time in Delhi, and I think we ended up selling almost 3,000 vouchers in an hour. So that's like big numbers. Their app gets hung up because the traffic is so huge. But imagine when you enter a new city like a Bombay or a Bhubaneswar and you want people to know that, a new brand has come into the city. I think stuff like Blast Sale, Nearby, Swiggy, I think it's all about visibility and different omni-channels to enhance business.
Well, some great experience there. Just to recap, one was obviously driving profitability. Secondly, leveraging the shop and shop as an earlier play because it's capex, it's low capex, easy to get there. I'm sure it's not easy to get the listings, but once you get the space, it's relatively low cost from that perspective. You already have the footfalls, and then leveraging the tech platforms to drive growth. Unnat, over to you. What are some of the levers that you guys pull? You're one of the most established sort of restaurant QSR businesses in the country. How are you leveraging some of these areas for growth here, some of these relationships?
So I think the biggest transformation that has happened in the recent times in our country is the digitech transformation. So having access through digital platforms for various services has certainly made brands available across those platforms. So if I just look at, how was marketing or associations being done, say, 5 or 10 years ago, what is happening today, and what's going to perhaps look like the future, I think the day and age of coupons, physical printed coupons, is actually over. And also, I think the day and age of, store-by-store retail tie-up, while there is still value left in that, it just takes a lot of effort to get things going. So it takes a lot of man-hours to get your retail tie-ups going, and the net result of that in terms of the overall business upside is very, very minuscule in comparison to the effort that is put in. So if I were to, talk about the first bucket, which is things that will stop happening, from our perspective, will be the physical coupons and retail tie-ups and stuff like that. What is happening now is the dramatic tie-ups that we are seeing with food aggregators. Sagar has mentioned a few names. We've also had pretty good experiment with some of these food aggregators.
Does it cost a lot to operate with them? I mean, who's paying are they still funding these discounts and whatever they're offering as potential discounts to customers and cashbacks? Are they still funding it, or you guys co-fund that?
I think it is partly owned by them, and other part is owned by us. Clearly, they are like establishing a new habit, so there is a role that they need to play in the space, as well as to give brands within a certain category a prime space on their platforms. That's the role that we guys need to play. So it's a combination of the two things, but that is something that we have seen work really well. Of course, we'll have to see how it kind of pans out, because ultimately the purpose of business is to make money. And when food aggregators have to cross that bar to start making money, how do the dynamics change over there is something that is still to be watched.
Because if you look at the whole e-wallet story in India, and the whole thing about people moving to digital payments post demonetization, it's really spiked, right? Now when I look at the whole piece, cash is back in a big way. If I talk to e-commerce companies, so it really didn't change the habit.
That's right.
Is there a concern that these platforms, if this discounting stops, is the habits? My sense is habits are really changing. People are using them for convenience as well. You don't always shop on them on discount. Do you have a fix on what percentage on these people who the platforms, when they're using the tech platforms, are discounted sales, and what percentage are just regular business? Do you guys track that?
Yeah, I think the discounting percentages have reduced over time. So if they would have started with half the business coming out of discounts, now perhaps it is a quarter. So discounts have reduced. You see, human beings by their very nature want to take the easiest route to whatever they need to buy, or the service they need to use. So as long as platforms provide ease of access, I think there is a premium they can charge for that. So still a lot of exciting world of opportunities to open up there, and we keeping a close watch on that one. The third category where we feel that we can actually open up at least our business in a massive manner is the retail partnerships, the shop-in-shop kind of stuff that Sagar was just talking about. We have, for the first time, taken our signature pan pizzas, actually for the first time anywhere in the world, our signature pan pizzas into a slice concept, into food courts as an experiment, into corporate parks as an experiment. And it is, I would say, overall, for the size of experiment that we have in place, it's a pretty good result. So there are people always on the move. Human beings are hungry 3 times a day, and convenience and value is a big need when people are especially on the move. And if we can crunch that time and offer great value, we can have great businesses. So our slice concept and our express formats is something that we believe could be a massive opportunity for the brand as we go forward, especially with corporate tie-ups and railway stations and metro stations and places where basically transit hubs.
As people are more and more on the go consumption is
Exactly.
is going to be the. I mean, you can see in the US, I think the number was like 50 or 60, 70% of all grocery or food and groceries now consumed out of home, like on the move, right? So I think there's a big dynamic shifting in that. So I think that's going to probably, we'll see that here as well, right?
Yeah, on the go could have a very different dimension in a country where people typically won't drive and eat here. We don't even have too many drive-thrus in this country, but it'll have a very different dimension. The need is always there, and as long as reputed brands can come and play that particular part, I think there's a big business to be had there.
Okay. Sahil, I'll come to you in the end because you're one of the people who are providing the platform. So Varun, to you, just your thoughts around what are some of the, if you take all these 4 or 5 triggers, what are some of the one or two that you are looking at driving growth for you?
Sure. Let me digress a bit, because let me get into the history of YY. It's a 30-year plus old brand, and all of us who've gone to boarding schools, I think we've survived on YY. I was just talking to Sam, and he was telling me that हम जब आते थे तो suitcase भर भर के नेपाल से मंगाते थे. So people have this emotional connect with the brand, and even while we were in school and stuff, we used to experiment different ways of making YY. So we've always had this thing in the back of our mind that we have to get into QSR at some point. And it's after my move from Dubai about 2 years back, we really started focusing on taking the YY in complete forward integration. And the first thing we thought would be this, from a brand visibility point of view, because YY has not been so much in ATL, but our BTL is very, very strong. And we're number 2 in India now and number 1 in Northeast. And we're the only country with pan manufacturing set up all over India. So the evolution of YY started about a year and a half, YY City started about a year and a half back, where we got the whole team together, we put the whole concept together, the first only noodle bar in the country, so to speak, or in the world. Like, I don't know any other noodle chain who've opened their own noodle bar. So this concept was started about, let's say, a year and a half back, with the first store in Hoskas about a year back, and we took a good 6 months to do the whole trial in terms of getting the product right. So we got the product right, and we've opened 9 stores now. It's mainly food court at the moment, but we started off as a standalone, and where we see YY City is, it's more experiential. Like, we participate a lot in these food festivals, college festivals, where people can actually relate to. So that's number one. Number two is digital marketing is the key for us, because YY City is 2017. So we have a full dedicated digital team who work constantly in the reputation management, on the image building, on reaching out as much as possible. So this is what is kind of building not just the YY, which has a significant brand on its own, but YY City independently as well. So
going forward, any sort of partnerships with the likes of IRCTC, or where you got, or a partner where you get large volume, because I think your price point will be pretty attractive, I'm sure. So is there an opportunity for you to look at those kind of things as well?
So, we've got YY distributors all over India, about 1,500, 2,000 of them. So it's their next generation, their kids, who want to be associated with this brand. So most of the franchisees that we've seen, we've already signed 120 plus already, and we hope that we'll be able to open 100 in the next 1.5 years, only in India. Apart from our plans of, because we are, like I said, we are in 35 countries. So for us, we have a foundation. It's only talking to the people who are already associated with this brand in these countries to take it forward. So our model is slightly different. Now, something totally offbeat that I'm going, we ourselves, we are coming up with our first mart. We haven't thought of a name. We may call it YY Mart. So even in our own 800 to 1,000 square feet YY Mart, we will have this kind of a setup.
Sorry, what will that be?
A mart, like a 7-Eleven kind of concept. So we are looking at a food mart. So
interesting. So very interesting formats. Sam, from your perspective, any thoughts around how you guys are trying to see how you can leverage what your restaurants, and one or two triggers that you guys.
So essentially, I feel that how do you recognize a food outlet? Essentially, it's about the size. So you can have a very large store, you can have a very small store, you can have an express store, or you can go in a different route in terms of how you service customers. You could service customers by through dine-in, takeaways, or then delivery. Now, there is, when you look at dissect this entire thing, and you see you have a hub and spoke concept where you have one large restaurant, and then you have smaller expresses all across the city, or you have a commissary in certain cases. So in our case, as far as Carl's Jr. is concerned, the idea was to open the first, say, 10 restaurants in a particular city, which are large size. So we started with 3,100. We've gone down to 2,500, 2,000, and now 1,500. And we'll probably go into the food courts very soon. In fact, we are going in the next couple of months into 350 square feet also, which is really the kitchen size. When it comes to segregation in terms of service, one expects an average of 70% of the food to be dine-in. And then you want to maximize the balance towards either takeaways and the rest being delivery. So, when it comes to organizations or aggregators like your Food Panda or Zomato or Swiggy and others, I think they've helped us a lot, definitely. We did not have to set up our own delivery bikes, our own personnel, etc. We have eventually done that in every restaurant to cater to unearthly hours or peak time, etc. But I think that's a huge benefit, getting the aggregators in. And the other is that any kind of digital connect, any kind whatsoever, any platform, anything that can open a door to a customer coming in, walking in, whether he's coming in through an app or he's coming in through, say, a marketing program or a corporate, or, for example, there was recently a football tournament, in Delhi NCR. So we participated there as the food partners, gave out coupons, kids, their parents, etc. came in. So any way of connecting with people, I tell my marketing team that irrespective of which organization, however new, however well-funded, non-funded, if they have an app, and it can attract you one customer, sign up with them. You never know how they'll grow, but every one customer is welcome. And I think that's my prime way of working this.
Great stuff. Any other thoughts, guys, before we move to the next section, which is around innovation and growth? Any other thoughts around partnerships? Any last comments on that, Unnat? Oh, sorry, I need to still come to Sahil on that.
Yeah, so I think, at Dine Out, we understand that the problem is twofold, right? One is getting a new customer to walk in. I think in the previous panel, they were talking about getting a new customer to walk in. And the other is getting a loyal customer or a repeat business to come in, right? Now, all these partnerships usually tend to focus on getting the new customers to walk into your doors, right? And nobody actually focuses on it's a hope, right? I mean, I've serviced my customer well. Hopefully, he's going to walk in and come back. There's no science attached to it. So where we at least come in as partners is on both sides, right? So Dine Out ensures that you get the right visibility and the right traction to get new customers to walk in. So unfortunately, we are not there with the QSR brands like with Pizza Hut, with Wow Momos, but with Chili's we are there, and we ensure that we give them that visibility to get new customers to walk in. But what I think the biggest piece that is missing in all of this today is data, right? I think data, as all we know, is money today, and most of this data does not get captured at the restaurant end, whether it's at the front of the restaurant when a person is walking in, or even if he's coming in through aggregators. I don't think enough is being done around data, and that's where we step in, and we are helping restaurants to build that data to get customers to walk in back into their restaurants on a repeatable basis, and something that you can actually predict, and not something which is a shot in the dark that, hey, this might happen and this customer will walk into my restaurant 3 months from now. Or for example, if it's a large chain, for example, you've got a Chinese restaurant and an Indian restaurant, that a customer changes his cuisine probably every month. If he's had Chinese this month, he's probably going to next try Italian or Indian, right? Now, how can I ensure that that crosswalk happens for a customer from this restaurant to the next restaurant, right? Nobody has that data, right? So unless I know my customer, how will I ensure that I'm able to make him walk through various different doors? If I don't know that this guy loves his beer along with the pizza, how will I ensure that I can upsell that to him, right? So there are various opportunities which a restaurant can exploit based on repeat business, upselling the products, cross-selling products across different brands, which are missing out there today, right? And while yes, the Zomatos, the Swiggies are doing that through the delivery perspective by getting in more orders, our thought is that along with getting the new customers, we need to focus on the real problem of the restaurant, which is also getting that repeat business in, and that's where Dine Out in Resto comes in. And we're trying to build that culture. We've got 1,500 restaurants, which are basically lounges, fine dining places and bars who have signed up for that because they recognize that problem, because the competition in that front is growing left, right, and center, right? Every month you get like 100 new restaurants opening up in CP in various pockets of the city. How do you deal with that combination? You need that data, right? And that's where.
And what's the? And I think that actually to me is the critical factor here. I mean, customer acquisition cost is so high that for every time you have to acquire a customer, whether I don't know what the number is.
Super high, right?
And if you're losing the customer at the end because you haven't mind what they really want to do, and the point is you can't change consumer habits to start eating every day out. But as he's saying, if you know the journey and this person's going to eat every third day or fourth day, this is what he eats, this is what he orders with it, you can create a single view of the customer. That to me is very, very critical. What sort of percentages do you see based on the data that you do, that you mine with some of the clients? Do you look at a repeat increase because of that?
I think
our customers are brands even interested in that today, or everybody's just in the?
They are interested. I mean, so selling technology is hard, unfortunately, right now. But I think in the years to come, it will become really important because, the data that I look at least, I don't see more than 10-20% people repeating at the same outlet, although you might think that 40-50% people are coming back, but that's not really happening. How can I get that number up is something that restaurants will need to focus on as it becomes harder and harder to get new customers into your restaurant, and with competition going up, right? So that is something that we all need to start developing a habit of. But the point is, at a single restaurant, right, there are like 30,000 diners walking through your restaurant every month, right? Even if at a large restaurant, for example, right? So in a month, you're getting like 350,000 diners in a year, 350,000 diners coming into your restaurant. Why can't you capture on that data itself?
Yeah, I have that same debate all the time. I think
Right.
in India, we just, at this stage of our journey, everybody seems to be more hungry about serving the customer who walks in rather than trying to retain it.
Right.
And I have a lot of debate, both also with retailers and all that. How are you spending time understanding customer
I mean,
and
a
all?
simple thing like feedback, right? Today it's taken on pen and paper in the restaurant that goes into the dustbin, right? It never reaches the final authority who's supposed to look at that feedback. Why can't we make that real time, right? That's where we step in. Like, so what I think is that, restaurateurs are meant to focus on hospitality and fix stuffs around food and give the right service. But technology should be, something that people can step in, and that's where we want to step in and get all these solutions inside a restaurant to improve the experience. Whether it's real-time feedback, whether it's collecting that data, whether it's remarketing, all of that, those are important partnerships that restaurant needs to look at. So one is digital, one is, you said malls and retail. I think restaurant needs to seriously start thinking about technology partnerships in a big way.
That's
right?
good points, and I think both we can debate that a bit more as we get in. So if there's no other comment on the first segment, I just want to get into the other interesting part, which is around innovation and growth. I see a lot of innovation here. Just talking to Sagar here, just the kinds of new types of momos they are making, from chocolate momos to what are the other the baked all. So I think just go around that. So Ashish, I can start with you again. Just some sound bites around what are some of the innovations that you had to do. I know your scale is not that big, but your restaurants are very nice, very large format. What are some of the one or two innovations you had to do to really drive a localization of taste and then create value for the customer in terms of adaptations, etc., and newness, obviously.
Sure. So I think I'll take this question at the brand level itself, because Chili's has been around for 42 years, and they've struggled with the millennial wave in the US more than any other brand. All of the casual dining sector there is reeling under pressure of new age brands that have come up and taken the innovation path. And so Chili's kind of and the other brands like Chili's, which have been there for a long time, got a little blindsided by this whole millennial wave, and but thankfully about 4 years back they realized that. So they went through a whole transformation of the menu. So what the menu we look at today is completely different from the menu about 4 years back when I joined Chili's as a brand. We reinvented the burger. The buns are completely new. The whole emphasis and approach was about making the food look fresh, look Instagrammable, as people say, and at the same time also start looking at focus on calories. Now, if an American brand which serves fried chicken and cheese starts talking about calories, then there's something really worth noting. So we have a section on our menu now which is lighter choices, for example, and all of those items are less than 650 calories. Why? Because the customers wanted it. So we went back to the drawing board and said, okay, what can we give them which is low calorie as well, while still catering to our core segment, which is wanting the fried heavy calorie stuff, soulful food.
So not losing the soul by it.
Correct. So we've gone through that journey. What's important for us as a brand is, and works wonderfully well across the globe, is we have a limited menu every quarter. We have a new menu which comes out with just 5 or 6 items every quarter. And these are items which have never been launched or tried in Chili's before. Right now we have a fusions menu going on, and there's a dish called the Chipotle Dulce Chicken, which it's mind-blowing to me that you can get something like that in a Chili's, right? And the flavors are from, they tap into their history of food, and across the globe they bring out flavors from there, and they try to do that. The other thing that Chili's does wonderfully well is these promotions, or the quarterly menu promotions, are suited to the time of the year. So it's a science that goes behind suggesting what kind of a menu we'll be having. So for example, in a lean period, we would typically try to have a value kind of a menu. So there is the same items which you get normally on the menu, but in a slightly different format, and that you can price a little cheaper. And in a high footfall season, we would tend to have a high PPA items on the menu. So you would have more protein-led kind of menu promotions going on. So our innovations are more led, it's the same globally. We don't do anything specifically in India. We fundamentally believe, and I've said this in the forum many years back and again, that we believe that chilies as a brand is something that people come to and look to. So we don't localize or Indianize the menu, too much. We do have a lot of vegetarian dishes which are unique to India because that's the nature of our guests. Look for vegetarian elements. But again, those elements are very, very specific to the cuisine which we are serving. So they are Tex-Mex in nature. The flavors are all Southwestern flavors when we do that.
Sagar, to you, I mean, you've done a lot of interesting innovation, and actually, this section is making my mouth water completely, man. I'm just imagining this Chipotle flavor right now, so.
So basically, for us, it's been about product innovation as well as innovation in service to, show a brand in a very different way. So I'll first talk about the product, make you guys feel a bit hungry. We're approaching lunch. So, when we began Wow Momo, we had 7 different variants of momos available only in steam. So you would have your chicken and cheese, your chicken, your prawn, fish, and you would have corn and cheese, mushroom, veg. But then we said, yeah, how do you build a brand out of a single oriented product and how do you go places? So our ultimate goal was to convert a snack into a meal. So we came up with the concept of a Momo burger, where we stuff 2 pieces of fried Momo between the burger breads. So you add, say, $75 to your Momo, you get a Pepsi and a burger with it. We came up with pan-fried Momos, which was again just the beginning of our innovations. I mean, the Momos are fried and tossed in sauce, one of our highest selling products. But we wanted to go further. So when we approached markets like Bangalore and Chennai, where the real estate was higher compared to Calcutta, we were in food courts and malls. So what do we do differently? We came up with Sizzler Momos, where we serve 6 pieces of Momos, 3 steam, 3 pan steam with rice or noodles, and a gravy with it. As I'm sitting here today in a good mall like a Mall of India or a Phoenix Market City, we end up selling 300 Sizzlers in a day, in a single Sunday.
How many
300
Sizzlers?
Sizzlers in a single Sunday. So that really takes up your APC, So from Momo being a value for money product in the steam variant, if you want to enhance your APC, you go for the Sizzler Momos. And in today's world, consumer is willing to pay for good product, and for the good, and for the good quantity. We didn't have a dessert in our menu, so we came with chocolate momos, okay? This monsoon, we had mango momos for the monsoon season. So, it's been all about innovations. When we entered Delhi 2 years back, we felt, Delhi ke log, they really prefer tandoori stuff, so we came up with tandoori momos. And that too, it was very different from what you would get in Delhi, okay? We came up with a baked momo or gratin. They like cheesy stuff, North Indian, so you have a layer of pan-fried momo, then white cream noodles and cheese and baked like a lasagna. Very soon we're launching a Momo roll, which is going to be another game changer for us. So I think product innovation has always been our biggest key to success. But apart from that, I think we've done a lot of things differently. Like we were all talking about, in the first question, we were talking about, digitalization, about omni-channels. I think social media, I think we've really used social media very differently. Everyone is there on Facebook, on Instagram. But how do you do things differently? So what we've done is that, we literally celebrate every customer. So it's the store manager's KRA from every store to pick up 5 photographs of customers eating Momo. We take their email IDs, we post them in our page, and we invite them to join our page. When they like it, say, hundreds of their friends get to know that, he or she was in a Wow Momo. So, it's adding a bit of activation to your social media and making it go viral. We just started a new thing called the Junior Momo Maker, where every Sunday we invite kids to come to a store and we teach them how to make momos. Now imagine a young kid who's 7 years old is making momos in a Wow Momo. He wants to, in today's world, tell all his friends that, boss, main Wow Momo mein gaya tha, maine momos banaye, etc. So it's like, it spreads like viral, without spending anything. So I'm not a believer of, having ads to get you likes. I believe in activations and using social media accordingly. Similarly, how we do things differently as a brand and innovate is that everyone knows about demonetization, And in the month of November, the only thing I was asked is that how is business, what is happening, etc., etc. We waited for a week and we felt, ki kya ho raha hai yaar, log nahi aa rahe hain, revenue was down by 40%. We said, let's do things differently. So beside every store, we have around 5-6 ATMs, okay? So we have these delivery bags. We bought Tupperware water bottles. We filled in bottles in these bags. And every store team members went to these ATMs. We first served them complimentary water, okay? Then we showed them our menu. We took orders in the queue. We went back to our store. We got the GPRS machine, the EDC machine, swiped the cards. And trust me, the industry dip was around 40 to 45%. We were at a dip of 20% at the end of the month. So it's about doing things differently. It's about being a game changer, about letting the consumer feel pampered, letting the consumer feel that you care for the consumer. So people are hungry, standing in the queue under the sun. We serve them water, we get them food. I think it's about doing things differently, doing it with style. I mean, there's no rocket science to it. And these are the innovations which make us a brand of the modern generation, of the modern India that we are.
Thanks. Great stuff. Unnat, over to you. You guys are continuously experimenting with menus, Indianizing it, bringing in new flavors. Just some thoughts around innovation and what do you guys do around that?
Yeah, I think I'll share with the audience what works and what doesn't work. I think Pizza Hut been in the country for about 20 years, so we've come a full circle on, the impact of innovation. So when we started, of course, it was about introducing the, American-style pizzas to the Indian market. There were a lot of people who were familiar with the product, so they came and had it. Then came the next, segment that we had to unlock, which is people who were not very familiar with the product. And then we had to, get into the space of more familiar flavors to attract the people in. So that got us additional business and permanent set of consumers on top of our existing base. After which the innovations went around great value products. So there was core that you launched your brand with, then you did some flavor innovations to make it kind of more closer to the palates that, Indians or people living in local countries consume. And then getting into more value kind of products. Now, having gone through this circle, we then came about, so we were pretty much an innovation machine, and I'm talking about in 2008, 2009, that every month, every 2 months, we would be launching, new toppings, new flavors and stuff like that. And we realized that there comes a period when you start getting diminishing returns for innovation. Innovation has to have a purpose, it has to have an objective, and when done only for the sake of creating some excitement for the next 2 month period or festival period, it doesn't work out. So we had this period of about 2 to 3 years, we said we'll just take a pause and not innovate and actually go back and reassess the entire menu to see what needs to continue, what needs to get knocked off, what needs to get enhanced. So we just completed that particular circle of coming back into our core menu. By the way, in this interim period, we went into categories like launching rice. So Pizza Hut launched rice. There was complete business reason for launching it, but of course did not work. Some of those logics did not work. So we came back and we've now come back into this space to realize that we stand for something signature. Let's make sure that is absolutely the best in class. It should be the most delicious, tastiest pan pizza anywhere in the world. That's number one. And then when you have pizza in your name, you have to make sure that when people think pizzas, any kind of pizza, any kind of topping combinations, they should think of your brand. So our future, so to say, direction of innovation is going to be more focused, but to explore every single subcategory within pizzas to make sure that we are addressing every single, subsegment over
Makes
there.
sense. So going back to core. So you've already been through that whole cycle that many people here are still experimenting with. Eventually, I'm sure Sagar and all will also reach a point where they would have tried everything and if, okay, here's our core and here's the innovation we do. Sahil, from your perspective, you see a lot of innovation from players. So just one or two examples of good innovation that you've seen has really worked, which like created a wow with you and your customers.
So I think when we started off our business itself, that itself was innovation. When 2012, when we started table reservations, people were like, what is this? Like, who reserves tables in India? So by that itself, but we've grown since then. Right now, we're seating 500,000 people. Where I think we've seen innovation now, or where at least we are adding, is in the in-restaurant experiences, right? So what we realize is one thing is booking a table on the app. The other is the actual in-restaurant dining experience. And what our aim now, at least in terms of innovation, is how can I reduce the customer's time by at least 30 or 40 minutes in this entire cycle, starting from figuring out where I want to eat out to actually walking out of the restaurant while he's paying, right? So that includes getting a guaranteed table inside a restaurant, to actually being able to order his food inside the restaurant through the app, so that, so right now the sequence is what, right? You need to get a waiter in, he needs to come in and take multiple orders. It's inefficient, right? It takes a lot more time. It takes a lot more time to actually get the order going. So if I can save 15 minutes of the customer's time inside the restaurant, that does two things, right? It gives convenience and a better experience to the customer. It also helps the restaurant by reducing the TAT, right? I mean, if I reduce the TAT, then I can obviously seat more tables. It's like an airline model for a restaurant, right? So if I can seat more tables, that gives me more revenue. So we need to look at innovation from both a consumer standpoint, at least at Dine Out, from a consumer standpoint and the restaurant standpoint, as to how can I reduce the customer's time inside a restaurant or his entire journey, and as well as, improve the restaurant's experience. And that's where we are trying to add value, whether it's in-restaurant ordering, in-restaurant payments, so as to give that innovation to the restaurant, because that's not where the restaurant will focus on. So there are a lot of innovations that Wow Momos, Pizza Hut will focus in terms of the cuisine, the dishes, etc. But where can we innovate on technology to give a better experience to the customer, right? That's where our focus is. And then look at unique, restaurant insights. So for example, with Food Panda, Zomato, Swiggy, all of them giving different channels for a, ordering restaurant to what we realize is it's very difficult for a restaurant to manage all these platforms. Can I simplify that for the restaurant? So we've got a product where I can, funnel all these orders into a single platform and make it easier for a restaurant to service that order. So time taken to service that order goes down, right? And that improves the efficiency for the restaurant, right? So all the innovations at least that we focus on is on ensuring that I can improve the restaurant's efficiency as well as help them get more customers to walk in. And a lot of these brands are using us, including Chili's, Socials. Toit, for example, is a big example in Bangalore, the largest, the oldest microbrewery, I would say, and they're using us fantastically for the last 3 years. And they've got 8 tablets across 3 floors to manage tables, manage wait lists, and improve the customer experience. So that's where innovation lies for us in terms of technology products for the restaurants, inside the restaurants.
That's great stuff, great stuff. Varun, your thoughts around, I mean, you guys have done a lot of innovation on the menu, you're just launching now. Just some quick thoughts around that.
Sure, I guess time is of the essence.
Don't worry about it. Just we'll have only 1 or 2 questions. Just have a quick go at it.
Let me answer this question in 2 formats. One is the YY, which is the FMCG side. We have a very strong product innovation and R&D team. So from the YY stand, what we are coming up with now is we're coming up with different flavors of bhujia. Like you've had your Haldiram, your Bikaner wala, Bikaji bhujia and stuff, but YY bhujia is something which we realize that people, they like to eat YY raw. So our first product innovation is we're coming up with about 6 different flavors of YY bhujiyas. We are launching our first ready-to-eat, like what you get in your retort packs, your dal makhni, your butter chickens, so on and so forth. So that's something which we are launching from the FMCG point of view. Now, YY City, essentially, it's just taken off about 6 months back. So what Subway is for sandwiches, YY City is for noodle eaters. You go there, you pick up, you choose one of the 4 different ways you want to eat YY, pick up your sauces and your condiments, and you make. What we are really focusing is because we've gained traction pan-India in terms of our expansion. So just for an example, because we're getting into South, we've realized that people eat, majority of them eat rice. So our team has come up with something which could blend, noodles or rice, something together. Now, similarly, we are opening our first outlet in Belgium. And in Belgium, we've realized people eat a lot of cheese. So we are coming up with products, with cheese and YY and so forth. So innovation is something which is non-stop. It's going to go on every day. The live kitchen of our restaurant makes it so interactive for us because we interact with customers in terms of what their preferences are. Then our marketing team kind of graphs it and sees that which are the products, or let's say which are the selections or combinations that are working well. Then we start working on those innovations. So it's a fun, interesting thing that we get.
That's phenomenal. And I think expanding internationally while doing it in India, so lots of challenges, I'm sure, in terms of quality control and how do you maintain all that.
Absolutely.
Sam, from your perspective, just some thoughts around innovation, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Sure. So essentially, I mentioned that we've at Carl's Jr. been in India for 2 years, but the fact of the matter is we've taken about 8-9 years more of back-end research. What we've done is we've taken hotels like Pullman Hotel here and hotels in Mumbai, where we've gotten for the entire week we brought in our kitchen and taken over their restaurant. Brought in a kitchen, actually done market research where we've got 500 people, 100 people per day, 20 people at a time in 5 slots per day, come in and actually eat the food, because there's a complete menu re-engineering that was done. It is not just the food overseas, because if I ask Carl's Jr. headquarters, they'd say that, this is the toughest and the most unknown market we've ever been to, because there's a vegetarian, non-vegetarian. You've got to keep them separate. There are 2 different food lines that we're serving in. You have a lot of vegetarian food. We've never got vegetarian anywhere other than the fries, or probably onion rings at best. And then you've got issues like, you don't have, obviously, beef over here, and that's the major protein that they're serving. So now to get in chicken, to get in various sauces, tandoori sauces, mint sauces, korma sauces, to bring in paneer as an example, and we've got a char griller. So not only frying, but char grilling, which is a healthy form of cooking. Now, if you get char grilling, and imagine that you've got to put paneer on it, or you've got to put in a veggie patty, which is normally fried by Indians. or chicken for that matter, or now we've got mutton. Mutton, as you know, most people have tried. It's got rubbery. It's not tasted as well. We brought in a fantastic mutton patty, which is being devoured by the entire city. In fact, that's one side of the business. The other is, I personally, on the marketing front, made a conscious decision not to go and compete with any brand, because we were the the wannabes with one restaurant and moving to the fifth restaurant now. And how would you compete with the likes of the Burger Kings and the McDonald's and the KFCs and the others? So we chose to compete on products rather than the brand. So I would say that, if you look at bone and chicken, I compete with KFC and I would say we have probably the best bone and chicken or the best tenders. But when you look at mutton, I would say we compete with Burger King as an example. Or when you compete on price and size and quantity, you go to a McDonald's and compete with them. You go into slushies, into water or aerated drinks with ice. So those we'd compete with. Again, either a KFC or one of these people. Milkshakes you do with Caventas. So we'd always taken best of the product of somebody else and try and compete with those to give a product which is more innovative. And of course, we've got a huge range of vegetarian products which have come in, and the lights are on, so I should stop now.
This is fantastic, yeah. And I think, this section is a good prelude to the lunch. Hopefully, some of this stuff is available outside. Are you guys vending here or not? Anybody here?
I wish, but you're most welcome to come to Carl's Jr. Take my name and get a 10% off.
Opportunity missed here, right? So you whipped up all the taste and no food available from any of you guys here. But listen, thank you so much. Excellent discussion. We've only gone through 2 questions out of the 6. Sorry?
We have an outlet just next building.
Okay, so there is a restaurant opportunity, a food opportunity for for the momos at least. We are running a bit late. Apologies for that. Just 1 or 2 questions. Please introduce yourself and just ask whichever panelist you want to address the question to. Just 2 questions, and then we're going to break for lunch because I think we're already running about half an hour late overall. So any questions? Sorry, this lady over. Oh, sorry, lady at the back.
Myself is Shleen Kaur. I'm a research scholar, and my PhD topic is QSR industry only.
Wow, I'm not going to even touch this one.
QSR.
So, what challenges the QSR industry is facing today?
QSR, that's a very broad question.
Actually, it's such a wide topic. There are only challenges being faced by QSR industry, nothing else. You can write a thesis on that.
That will become my research question.
It's challenges, and we are looking at how to convert the challenges into opportunities.
Yeah. So
like I gave you an example about demonetization.
Quick one challenge.
In the area of demonetization, GST and promotion, digital marketing.
I think GST has worked for our industry, to be honest, because the non-air conditioned outlets has come down to 12%. And even in cities like Calcutta and Bombay, where, it would go up to 20%, close to 20%, it's come down to 18%. So it's good for the consumers, made it pocket friendly. We've kept our pricing the same. So I think GST has worked for us. And I think we can also now get inputs on our capex, which we could not get earlier. So I think it's a win-win for the restaurateur at least. And I'm very bullish, very positive. And that's about it.
Unnat, one challenge from you, the top challenge that keeps you awake at night.
Transformation from offline.
Just one question only. Okay, others also have to ask. Yeah.
Transformation from offline promotion to online promotion.
Okay, just.
I think at a very, very high level, there are plenty of challenges, right? But at a very high level, it's about saying, can the business model and the concept work at the 500 store and 1,000 store level? I think if it can work at these levels, then you have a massive business at play and a very strong concept.
So scale is the scaling up. And any other thoughts, guys? Varun, Sahil, Sam, any one big challenge?
I think finding the right location.
Real estate and location.
Real estate is a big challenge.
So there are your three potential challenges. One last question from somebody. The lady over here.
Hi, I'm Preeti Hoon, and I just want to ask one question to Unnat. We see that the modern brands usually innovate much, but there are brands which are they have a legacy like Kareem's and all. They would not experiment much because they want to stick to their original content, original flavors. So, do you think that innovation, especially for Pizza Hut, you've innovated much? Do you think it's a sign of a failure as well for the customers and for the brand in a way?
I think, so if I understand your question rightly, I think innovation needs to have a purpose. And the success of Pizza Hut so far in this country is on the back of great signature products executed well with a layer of a dose of innovation sitting on top of it, right? Which is relevant to the Indian market. I also took examples about innovations that haven't worked in our context. I think innovation is very, very important, but it has to have a purpose at the end of the day. As long as your innovation has a purpose, which means you want to unlock the next consumer segment, you want to open up a certain day part in which you're not very strong, you want to enter a new city which has, or categories of cities which have very different nuances, then innovation has a very strong role to play. Innovation done without the right need identification, I think becomes headless.
But I would sort of definitely say that innovation is definitely the mantra for success, but purposeful innovation, innovation which is thought to consider innovation as failure, I would sort of, strongly disagree with. But in any case, I think we are ready for lunch now. Okay, one last one. She's very keen to ask a question, this lady over here. So this is the final one. And after that, we'll wrap up.
Hi, my name is Ritu. My question is to Sahil. With the emergence of technology in F&B industry, there's a possibility of witnessing reduction in the number of staffs. So do you think in resto or dine out will lead to reduction in or will replace the waiter system?
Well, see, the thing is, ideally, it could. I mean, it could, but I don't foresee that happening immediately, right? Today, staff cost is very low in India, right? As the staff cost keeps growing up, like how it is in the West, then it will become important for the restaurant. Right now, so that's the problem, right? So technology versus staff, right? Today, the trade-off is towards the staff side because the restaurant feels that, if I have enough staff for this, I don't really need this technology. But as this staff cost starts going up, then technology will start becoming more important. And there might be some shift and there might be some churn, but that's how, the economy is growing, that's how the industry is growing. I don't see that as a negative thing. People will have to get more skilled and do more better stuff, but I think that's going to happen. I don't deny that.
I think robotics and all that stuff is still down the line.
Yeah.
But
So,
just any last comments, guys, before we wrap up? Varun, Sam, Unnat, from you, Sagar, anything? Any last comment? Sorry, we couldn't get through the whole piece. A lot of very, very interesting discussion. Thank you for your time and for your participation. Really enjoyed it. I learned a lot and also I'm all ready for lunch now. Yeah. So thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you very much. I'm going to request our panel members to please remain on the stage. And if I may please request Mr. Rajat Wahi to please present the mementos. Firstly, to Mr. Ashish Saxena. To Mr. Sagar Daryani. To Mr. Unnat Verma.